I think we're live. So, hi everyone and welcome to this little show. I've recently been asked by somebody, how do I draw people? And I've got a simple answer of, I draw them my way. Everyone has a different way of drawing people, so you've just got to find your niche and how you enjoy drawing them. There are set ideas and then there's just kind of random. It's what you're most comfortable with. So I want to just show you a couple of ways that I've seen and learned how to do it. So the equipment that I often use, especially if I'm going out in the field or into town, depending on where, is I'll take a coloured pencil sharpener of course, an automatic pencil. I've got various leads from 0.2 all the way to 0.7, depends on what I fancy, sketchbook of course, and if I feel like it I'll take a couple of pencils, just normal ones. The leads that I take are in the B ranges, and that's normally for the dry media, that's what I would take. And then I'll take maybe some Copic markers, which we've all done a runner on me, and Copic marker. So I might take a Copic marker, and if I feel like it, Pro marker, or something like that. So I'm not taking a humongous bag of stuff. I travel very light. I sometimes use pencil rolls or wraps, though they aren't always convenient. And my sketch pads tend to be about A5 size. Otherwise it's, how can I put this? When sat outside drawing people, some people don't want to be drawn. And like with taking photos and things like that, it can get a bit socially awkward, so you just need to be very, very, very aware of your surroundings. But in this case, I'm in the studio, I'm safe. Nobody's going to come and demand I rip up my drawing, which has happened. So there's two ways to go about it. Is you can go outside and sketch from life, or you can go out, get some photos of the world around you, and then take those back home and sketch from those. The big thing is, if you go out and get photos from life, make sure there are no children or vulnerable adults or anything controversial in them. It's really, really important, because if somebody else sees those photos and they think they're inappropriate, you can get into trouble. So be really, really careful. Or if you can, and there's a life drawing class near you, go to a life drawing class. But there's different ways of approaching the subject. So I'll shove the media over there. So if I was out in the field and there are people walking around me, I've literally got seconds to catch a gesture. I'm not going to spend forever mapping them out, because they're in motion, they're going to woohoo, gone. So it's literally, and I apologise, this is probably going to be quite fast, it's going to be 1, 2. That's literally, hope you guys can see that, that's literally how fast I work. Doesn't tell me much, but it gives me the initial movement and feeling. So if I've got a bit of longer time with a person, then I can quickly get in a bit of detail of the clothing. I can block that all out. And I can pay a little bit more attention to the structure. Again, I'm just very, very loose lining. I normally wouldn't push this hard anyway. And I would just block in what I need. Now, in a sketchbook, that's really quite easy to do. I've not really concentrated on any part, I've not mapped it out, I've not done that hold your pencil up and measure your heads and then work out how many heads are in the body. I've not done any of that, because you don't have the time to faff tiddle around when you see something happening live in front of you. It's a case of get your pencil, get your paper, get it down, splat, down. So if I was in a restaurant or a cafe, and I've got a habit of doing this. I go into cafes which I've already contacted and checked that they're okay for me to sit and sketch in there. Oddly enough, Costa, yes, Costa, they won't let me do it. I don't know why, but they're against it. But my local cafes, the little guys, are more than happy for me to go and sit and sketch in there. So I'll have a chance to actually sit and spend some time with a person. And I'm very discreet, so you might literally just have a few seconds if they're just sat down. But this time, because they're more stationary, you can map out parts of them. So I would do something like that. So again, it's very quick, but it's just blocking out bits. And it gives me the rough pose, the rough idea. And if I see something that I really like about the person, like an item of clothing or something like that, and I've got a marker with me, what I might do is, I'm going to use a green. I know colours do not go together. I hope this is going to work. I might quickly get a marker and just block in very lightly a little bit of the detail on them. So that then gives me an idea of the type of clothing. If I've got a lot of time, I might, if I've got one, I don't always carry skin tones, but I might quickly map in some skin tones. And this is kind of how I've always learnt to draw. I literally, if I see it, I put it down on paper. I am very much a speed drawer. I'm lazy in a sense because I don't like to sit and map. I judge everything by eye, which yes means that my proportions can be out, but it gives me that little edge on that I can get things down a bit faster. So with this person, by the way, we are in the studio. I'm not at a cafe. It's just I know this pose very well from spending a few years sat around cafes. So if the person's there for a bit longer, then I can come in and I can really start to refine the detail. I can either use the colour pencil, I can bring in a black pen. Fine liners are quite good for this actually. Mine are hiding somewhere, otherwise I would have brought them in. And even if the colours that I've got on me, if I haven't got the actual colours that I need, the good thing is that as long as I've mapped out the rough shapes, I can just write down that that's actually blue. And if I know the type of actual item of clothing, so if someone's got a straw hat, then I can write straw hat and things like that. And the longer a person sits still, of course, the more detail you can get. But if the light's shining in from one side, then I know there's going to be more shadow on the other. So it's also about observing where things are. So even though this person by now might have just got up and gone, I know the light's coming in from this side. That's enough to tell me that the shadow's going to be in blocks of other areas. And you don't have to do loads of detail, just block in bits, chuck in a couple of shadows. And in honesty, I don't often actually do faces. I'm not very good at them, so I don't do them. With hands, I tend to do those later on, unless it's a particular hand gesture. I just block in where the wrists are. There you go, that's literally a little person drawn out. But if you do have time to actually sit down and draw people, then that's great, because you can go into more detail, you can draw slower, you can enjoy the drawing more. So in this case, let's shove this paper this way a little bit. So if I had time to look at someone, so if I've got a bit more time, hopefully you guys will be able to see this one, then I can actually pay more attention to the person. I can maybe catch a bit more of the detail. And I find the thing is that clothing masks a lot of the anatomy of people. So it's alright doing your line of action, but if you can't see where the spine is and other parts, key parts of the anatomy, so baggy clothing, overcoats, all sorts of things, then you kind of lose the idea, because people's portions are different to each other. So if there's a lot of clothing, I might block it in if I've got a bit more time. And if there's a very, very particular striking clothing, I might use that as the actual areas to map out. So I'm not worried about the underlying anatomy, I'm treating the clothing as the actual person's body itself. So in this case, it's... I've actually looked at one drawing. In this case, it's a guy in baggy trousers. It's in fact a guy who was dressed up as a clown. He'd made his own clown costume by using white overalls with stickers on. And even the rules of foreshortening can actually be thrown around, because if somebody's walking away from you and their limbs are swinging backwards, the foreshortening does look very, very strange, because in the end your elbows actually end up looking way higher than they are. So this guy, I've roughed him in. Let's see. Quickly grab this pencil. And I can quickly grab some colour and block in certain parts. And the thing is, even if you've only just got one pencil, you can block in bits. I mean, if you're down to one pencil, all the others are broken or you've got problems, just don't be afraid just to stick with that. In this case, you can't actually see the bloke's face because the hat has cast too much shadow. So what I would concentrate on this sort of thing is literally mapping in blocks of shadow. And in block form it does look really, really weird. I might mark out a few of the big folds in the material. But that gives me enough to work on, so that when I get back home, I know the pose, I know the fabrics, because I've mapped out it's loose all through. I know there's a hat, so I know that even if the light's coming from here, I've blocked in my main area of shadow. And these are really quick little sketches, but I just want to show you that you can get enough detail down in a quick sketch, and it's quite fun. In fact, it's a lot of fun. But if you've only got, say, a coloured pencil and a couple of pens, then you can do exactly the same. In fact, let me grab my book. Right. Let me find a nice image to work from. I want something a bit challenging. So where I live on a coastal area, and there's fish and chips, pies and all of that, and it does have a huge effect on the proportion size of people. And I'm not joking. So whenever you see people drawing figures, quite often you see them drawing thin figures. It's like in shops with clothing, when they're advertising the underwear and all that stuff, and you very rarely see what they class as a plus size model. But the world is full of plus sizes, and that's why I feel that if you go outside and you sketch from life, you will see the truth far more, and you can appreciate it more, and it'll give you a better idea of how to map people out, especially with the other portions. So let's do I'm going to do one pencil, one pen. So if I was out in the field and I see someone, and this is not Big Hero 6 before anybody says that. In fact, baggy clothing does make it harder to map people out, but you can still keep it really simple. And the head isn't a complete oval because the skull comes back, so I do tend to use ovals, but then I extend it at the back. And there's often an angle, so when the shoulders point one way, the hips might point the other, so you need to just be aware of where your shoulders are, and that helps with your proportions and the actual shape of the person. It looks more realistic. I mean, just learning human anatomy is a really, really handy thing to do. Because that way you can understand, if you understand the person and how people are built more, then it does make it easier to map them in and draw them. And even if they're moving past you at quite a rate, you know where the hips angles are going to be, you know where the legs are moving to. Because people walk in a pattern. So you'll be given a really good idea of where people are and what they're doing and what their bodies are doing, so you can see before it happens where you're going to want to put your lines. So there's two people mapped out. Really very, very basic, very simple. So I'm going to try these aqua markers. I've got these. These were a free gift. But I really actually fancy trying one of these. And I'm going to try this colour. Never used these before. This could go disastrously wrong. They've probably been in my drawer for about 5 years. Nice bullet nib. So same as what I do with Copics. I take one nib off and then I take the other nib off, just to make sure the pressure in the barrel doesn't go splat. So got my pencil sketch. I've just got one marker with me. Ooh, that's juicy. And if you're using a marker or anything like that, you don't have to map out every single bit of detail. So I'm just literally picking up. This guy's got a really weird coat on. markers you can actually layer them, so you can kind of map out your darkest areas and layer them. You can cross hatch. And all I'm doing here is I've selected the darkest area, and I've literally just picked up on that. And there's my figure. So if I wanted to bring in more detail, I can then come in with the pencil. I can sort out the basic anatomy. This guy's got quite a few double chins. A bit of a weird coat. And I can tidy it up from there. If I want to add in shadow, so I know there's loads of shadow around here, I can come in again with the pencil, put some cross hatching in. Or maybe even use the pencil to block out areas. And because the pencil's got a slight different tone to the pen, it should give enough contrast. So again, if you're travelling really light or you don't have money to buy too much art equipment, you don't have to, you just have to know to use it wisely. Something that does often help if you're doing a figure, try and give them a slight shadow. At least I tend to. You don't want to add a shadow, don't have to, but what it will do is it just grounds your figure. So there's one. Just one pen, one pencil. And the nice thing about using markers, if you can get markers, is that you can get wide strokes, you can get skinny strokes, you can get most of your marks down really, really quickly. Now, what if you've only got a pencil and a biro? No problem. You can get tonal values with a biro. It is possible. So, with our other guy, just put him in the centre. Just make sure this is going to work. Yeah. I warmed this biro up, so hopefully it should be okay. So in this guy's case, so some biros are a little bit scratchy. So I'm doing really, really light marks with my hand. I'm not pushing down too much. I'm basically brushing the paper. I'm not worried if I go over the marks that I've already made slightly. Because I can fix things with that colour pencil. This guy have very, very baggy trousers. So it completely distorts where the leg is. And with baggy clothes you can actually lose where the limbs are completely. So that's why instead of trying to draw the skeleton in the clothes, I tend to just draw the clothes as the person. But as I say, everybody has their own way of drawing, and it's what everyone feels comfortable with. I mean, some people prefer to map everything out, some people prefer to just draw what they see. It's everyone's interpretation. So there's my rough outline with just a biro, and then I can add in some detail. Most of the time for faces I do a centre line and then just a little line to indicate where the eyes are. A biro is a good, quick way of drawing if it's the only piece of equipment you have. And I'm just literally blocking in where I can see dark spots, light spots. Making quick notes about where I can see folds in the fabrics. I just build up those layers. This guy had a whopping great big purse around his neck. Again, you can just add in a very, very light cast shadow. And to make, of course, because shadows have colours, tones, a shadow isn't pure black, it's got light areas, it's got dark areas. So I can just map in a couple of those bits. And then there we go. So that's that guy mapped in. So just with two different types of pen and one pencil, you can get completely different results, but it's still capturing a figure. So that is roughly how I approach drawing people. In the studios I do much more refined work, but when I'm going out and looking for inspiration, that's roughly how I would approach getting people down. So from just a pencil and a marker, pencil and a biro, through to having colour pencils and a bit more kit available. It's kind of just catching what you see, but if you want to map it out into blocks or skeletons, then go for it. If you want to map it out with a pencil or even just straight with a marker, then that's absolutely fine. I mean, straight with a marker would be, let's see, let's find somebody. Let's find a different looking person. I have quite a big reference library for people. Let's pick a different colour. These are quite nice actually, these aqua markers. Nice amount of coverage. So, if all you've got is one marker, this is going to be quite a rough one. And yeah, single marker drawings can look a little bit strange. And the fun thing is, if you make a mistake, you can't erase it. But you can build on it. So with a single marker, what I tend to do is I will do just very, very light marks until I'm sure of what I'm doing. So I use, say, the thin end. And then once I'm confident with what I've got, I'll come through and neaten it up. And the bits that I'm neatening up are things like key details. I can block in little areas of shadow. Also, if there's anything that really I think is quite striking, then I can put more attention to detail.